Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create just a simple goal which will trigger something happening when we collide with it. And so I think the first thing that I'll do here is that I'll start out by just making my ground a little bit larger. This isn't much of a field to work with. By selecting that game object and choosing to update the scale of it. So I'm going to make this maybe 5 by 5. Go, just like that. And I think what I'll do is I'll take the ball and I'll just move it back just a little bit here in this space. Oops. And I want to make sure that my camera is moving with that too, so I'll shift click both of those things so we can move them back together. Now let's add a game object that we'll use to trigger our goal. And so I'm going to click on the plus here. I'm going to create a 3D object. In this case, I think I'll just create a simple cube. Let's see where it's positioned itself in space. 0, 0, 0. That's quite nice. But let's go ahead and maybe elevate it just a little bit. Maybe I'll make it float a little bit, and then I'll also just rotate it just a hair to make it a little more interesting visually. Possibly raise it just a little bit more. There we go. As long as it's something that I can interact with here. Now, I have some options in terms of where I want to place this script to handle the collision logic. I could either place it on my goal and then use it to check to see whether that is interacting with the player's game object. Or I could set it to my player and then choose to see if that is interacting with the goal game object that I've created here. And let's go ahead and call this goal just to make it a little easier to follow. Now, in this case, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add this as a script that I attach to ball. And my reasoning for this is that maybe I have different kinds of goals, like power-ups in my game, or some things that are positive and some things that have negative outcomes. And I want to check those things all in one place. I could add this script to my ball and then check to see whether or not these things that are being triggered or being collided with have specific tags and then act appropriately. And so to do that, I am going to take this goal game object here and give it a tag that I can check for in my script. I'm going to choose to add a tag. My list is empty currently, so let's just call this goal. And now I need to go back in my hierarchy and select goal, make sure that that tag is selected as well. And I can apply this to any game object that I want to have triggered in the same way here. And then I'm going to select ball, and down in my scripts folder, I'm going to choose to create a brand new C# script, and let's call this player collision. So this will hold any kind of logic that I create that is related to the collision of the player. I'm going to add this to ball, add component, player collision. Here we go. Now I'm going to do one other thing here, which is really important. So I intend for this collision to work using a trigger. So I want to be able to pass into this and not bounce off the side of this goal. And because of that, I do need to go back to goal and make sure that I set the collider here to is trigger. Otherwise, this will not work. It will not call the appropriate method here to be able to respond to the interaction that we're having. So make sure that you have this also set to trigger if you intend to use it that way. So now let's go ahead and open up our player collision script. And so with this script, what I plan to have happen is that anytime that our script detects that we've intersected with an object set to is trigger, it's going to check to see whether or not that tag is equal to goal. And if it is, it's going to send a simple message to our console and then delete the game object that belongs to that collider. I don't need either start or update to do this. And in fact, any of these kinds of things that you're not using, you should just get in the habit of cleaning out, because they will eventually affect the performance of your game. So Instead, I'm going to replace them with void on trigger enter. And you can see this follows the same kind of pattern that we used in 2D. It might take a little bit just to kind of get out of the habit of automatically like going for the one that takes 2D. But if we select this, we can see, just like 2D, it's going to ask for some sort of collider as the thing that it's checking against. And in this case, we're going to refer to it down inside of this method as other. And so if we want to check the tag that's associated with other, we say if other.compare tag, and then the name of it. So in this case, I know it's called goal. So if this is true, we're going to send a message to the console by using debug log. Maybe we'll just say yes. Great. And then we're going to destroy this game object. And so we'll use destroy other. And it's very important that we use other.gameObject with a lowercase g. The reason we're doing this is just because other refers just to the collider that's on this game object. So we need to make sure that we're not simply deleting that collider, but also the object which belongs to it. Okay, so let's save this now, and we'll head back to Unity. We'll look for any errors here. Looks good. Great. Let's keep our console open, and now let's see if it works. Great. Fantastic. It works as expected.